Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I review horror books with a supernatural focus. In today's video, we are doing a new episode of Indie Nightmares. This is going to be a double episode, so we're going to have 8 books all together. Indie Nightmares is a series that I've been doing for a little while now where I showcase indie horror. This is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, I guess, because I think indie horror is one of the things that I think you should definitely have in your library, and also it's a little bit hard to find on its own, you know? So I really wanted to have a series where people could easily find some indie horror, find a new author, find a new gem of a book. It's another resource for us hungry bookworms. If you'd like to purchase any of the books that you see today, all of the links will be down in the description below. If you're on a budget, don't worry. Usually these books are pretty affordable. Sometimes they are even free depending on what's going on. If you do see something here that you'd like to read today, please pick it up. Definitely support these indie authors. It means a lot. Be sure to like and comment down below, and if you would like to get more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and jump right in. The first one is going to be a Blood Crone pick. And that is the chosen book out of a group of books that I send to my patrons. I have them vote on a list of books. I send them only the synopses, no title, no author, and they pick the one that they think sounds the most interesting. And that book is the first book that we will talk about, and the rest of the books have to wait until the next episode to be revealed. This month's pick is Fall of the House of Crain. This is by Cindy Winget. This is a gothic haunted house story. We've met Cindy before previously in one of these episodes. If you remember, she has a note here that says this book is a gothic horror mashup between The Haunting of Hill House and select stories by Edgar Allan Poe, and it is set in the 1920s. I personally really like horror, especially supernatural horror in the 1920s. One, because it is very rare. You don't see a lot of it, but there is something really intriguing about this time of decadence and jazz and parties. It has a really cool aesthetic. Just visually, I think it just works really well, and you never really see it. So this is exciting. Dr. John Montague is on a mission to uncover the truth behind the afterlife, and Hill House is where he'll find it. The 80-year-old mansion's warped exterior hides his soul just as gnarled and twisted. With his 3 assistants to help him discover the source of the house's supernatural forces, Dr. Montague intends to live inside the crumbling building until he has the proof he needs. But when they hear incessant knocking on the walls at all hours of the night, a bloody message is found scrawled across a wall, and a friend begins to go mad. Dr. Montague fears he's in over his head. He calls his ex-wife for help, who is an accomplished medium, but that only seems to awaken the house further. Can he unmask Hill House's secrets before it drives him insane, or will he become one more casualty to its horrors? There's a lot of things that are very familiar here that are probably jumping out at you from Hill House, so it sounds pretty fun, especially because of the setting of the 1920s. Rainbringer, Zora, Neale, Hurston against the Lovecraftian Mythos. This is by Edward M. Erdelac, and this is a cosmic horror. The oaths of secrecy Zora Neale Hurston swore, and the terrifying physical and emotional ordeals she endured left their mark on her. And there were certain parts of her material which she never dared to reveal, even in scientific publications. She traveled the 1930s south alone with a loaded .44 and an unmatched desire to see and to know. She was at home in the supper clubs of New York City, back road juke joints, under ropes of Spanish moss, and dancing around the voodoo peristyle. Her experiences brought us Their Eyes Were Watching God, Mules and Men, Tell My Horse, and Jonah's Gourd Vine. But between the lines she wrote the words unwritten, truths too fantastic to divulge, until now. Leaves floating in a dream's wake, beyond the black arcade, Ekwenzu's lullaby, King Yeller, gods of the grim nation. The shadow in the chapel of ease, black woman, white city, the deathless snake. 8 weird and fantastic stories spanning the breadth of her amazing life. 8 times when she faced the nameless alien denizens of the outer darkness and didn't blink. Zora, celebrated writer, groundbreaking anthropologist, hoodoo initiate, footloose queen of the Harlem Renaissance, Mythos detective. It sort of kind of reminds me a little bit of like Sherlock Holmes, because he sort of had a long list of things that he was also very accomplished in, like in boxing and the esoteric arts and like all that kind of stuff. That sounds pretty cool. Plain Victim by Myra Khan. There's a note here from the author. It says, there are a lot of twists you won't expect. This is a psychological murder thriller. Quiet and uneventful, just what you would expect at a typical suburban neighborhood in Oak Hills, Oregon. Darcy hated it. That is until a slew of kidnappings begin taking place in the peaceful suburbs, putting everyone on edge, especially when the latest kidnappings happens right in front of Darcy's high school. With things getting too close for comfort, Darcy Walker takes it upon herself to get to the bottom of the kidnappings, even if it means becoming the victim. All the while, 20-year-old Marcus gets into an agreement with the kidnappers, for reasons too close to home. Consumed by guilt, he tries convincing himself that sometimes people have to do things they don't want, for reasons people wouldn't understand. Only question is, who is the real victim? It does sound very twisty already, just from the synopsis. And I kind of love these like quiet suburban it's just like a great setting because underneath the surface, something is simmering somewhere. The Lunchling, a novella. I love this title. It's so cute. Kind of reminds me of like spiderlings and tieflings and, things like that. This is a haunted house supernatural. And there's a note. It says, released on my 10th month anniversary of being sober. Really proud and thank you for taking the time to consider. Congratulations, that is a big deal, that's awesome, and thank you for sending your book over. Orville and Ellie Taylor would do anything to get their son to eat his dinner. Lennon's an exceedingly fussy kid, and desperate times call for desperate measures, which is why they started using the puppet. The Lunchling, they called it. An ugly wooden doll with a funny voice. It was hideous and dumb and a little bit terrifying. And it was the only thing keeping Lennon alive until it started trying to kill him. Now Orville will do anything to get rid of the demented puppet, but it's not giving up easy. It's a part of the family now, and it's hungry. The Lunchling is a tale of fear and family inspired by the classic and iconic slasher movies of the 80s and 90s. This horror novella will stick with you long after you've buried it underground. It doesn't sound necessarily spooky, but I do love a possessed puppet. The Final Woman by Pardeep Aujla or Aujla. Psychos, slashers, serial killers, supernatural. And a note here says that it is a debut novel. The mass-murdering phantom of Haven Cove is dead. For the one who killed him, however, life has never been the same. How do you return to normality after facing a monster? How do you live when consumed by guilt, anger, fear, denial? How do you connect with others when no one understands what you've been through? But there are others. Final girls of their own Haven Cove massacres. And now, 30 years later, they must all face a new question. What do you do when the killer returns? Well, I know what I would do. I'd be like, let's get together. I think, this is our moment to shine. Let's do this. Sorrowmouth, published by Black Shuck Books. This is by Simon Avery. This is dark fantasy, psychological horror, and it says, for a long time, Sorrowmouth existed as 3 or 4 separate ideas in different notebooks until one day, in a flash of divine inspiration, I recognized the common ground they shared with each other. A man trekking from one roadside memorial to another in pursuit of grief. Beachy Head and its long, dark history of suicide. William Blake and his angelic visions of Beckham Rye. Blake again with the ghost of a flea, a monstrous companion, bound by life's cruelty. As I wrote, I discovered these desperate elements were really about me, getting to some deeper truths about myself, and about all the people I've known in my life, about the struggles we all have that no one save for loved ones see, alcoholism, dependence, self-doubt, grief, mental illness. Sorrowmouth is about the mystery hiding at the heart of all things, making connections in the depths of sorrow, and what you have to sacrifice for a moment of vertigo. This definitely speaks to me considering the year that I've had, and I definitely carry sorrow as a quiet companion with me, in these days. And they definitely give you a lot to think about. Too much. Things you don't really want to face, but eventually. You're gonna have to if you ever want to kick it out. An Englishman in Prattsville, published by Ravenscott Publishing, by Gary McKnight. This is a folk horror supernatural. And there's a note here from the author. It says, if you're a fan of American Werewolf in London, you'll love this book. John Landis gave me permission to use his name and the town of East Proctor in this loosely based sequel to his movie. Lewis Kessler has a secret. He likes his whiskey. Maybe a little too much. But when a brutal murder occurs in a small upstate town on the night of a full moon, another secret from his past begins to rise. All Lewis wants is to be left alone, but the people of Prattsville are curious, especially gentle-natured Jenny, who works at the liquor store. Officer Pete Hanlon is also curious, and he is beginning to suspect Lewis knows much more about the murder than he's telling anyone. Can Lewis ever escape his past in England and live a quiet, peaceful life with a sweet girl like Jenny? Will curiosity reveal his darkest secrets? Will the killer mark Jenny as the next victim in a series of gruesome murders? And will Officer Hanlon get his answers before time runs out? Night is falling, the full moon is rising, and the small town of Prattsville braces itself for another terrible murder. I feel like since he likes his whiskey a little too much, I feel like his lips might get a little bit loose and put himself in a little bit of a situation with Jenny at some point. The last one is The Awakening at Equinox, Seasons of Growing. This is published by Tree Shadow Press. And this is by Kerry, E.B.Black. This is a paranormal supernatural, and there's a note here that says, it's a standalone novel about an introverted and mildly autistic college freshman thrust into a horrifying existence. Shy Casey Adams never imagined the changes a secret campus ceremony would bring to her already complicated life. Now she's plagued with horrifying visions. Her new friends share disturbing dreams of a mysterious and beguiling woman, and they all seem different and not necessarily for the better. Old Northeastern College is besieged by grisly murders, and Casey worries they may have unwittingly unleashed more than their inner potentials during their strange ceremony. They may have released something primal, something hungry, something sinister. Fans of magical realism will enjoy this debut young adult contemporary exploration of the paranormal, of responsibility to family, friends, and community, and of self-acceptance. I think the ones that really stand out to me as like something that I would like to read is Fall of the House of Crain, obviously. The Lunchling it just sounds so cute and weird and, kind of just like creepy. I really would like to read that. And I think Sorrowmouth. I don't think that I'm in the mood for it like right now. I'm really trying to stay away from those type of things. But it does sound really intriguing to me, and I think that would be something that I would really like to read later. So those were the 8 books that we have for this episode. I hope that you found something here. I hope there's something cool for you. Let me know down in the comments if there was something here that really stood out to you. Other than that, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really do appreciate it. Please take care of yourselves, look out for each other, and I will talk to you next time.